Been listening to El Paso County, Teller County District Attorney Dan May with the decision of the grand jury in the deadly officer-involved shooting of Devon Bailey. Both officers have been cleared, basically citing that there was reasonable belief that their life was in danger. A crime was committed. The suspect they called, Devon Bailey, still had a weapon on him when he was shot and killed.
And the DA just said, we heard the Devon Bailey family attorneys had been calling for an independent investigation in this case. Dan May clear that the grand jurors, they are conducting an independent investigation. They're a jury of our peers making that decision today. Let's get to Chief Investigative Reporter Eric Ross. He's in studio walking us through the timeline of events from the day of that shooting until today with this decision.
Yeah, and there were a lot of turn of events here over a 2-month time span, Rob and Elizabeth. We want to take you through the process step by step, starting with August 3rd. That is the day that Devon Bailey was shot by those 2 CSPD officers who you just heard from Dan May's office have been cleared and ruled justified in using deadly force. About 4 days later, on the 7th of August, you may remember that home surveillance video was released, but that was just a snippet of what happened. What you saw was an aerial view of officers shooting Devon Bailey as he was running away from officers. That sparked a lot of criticism because, again, when you're dealing with surveillance video, it only shows a snippet of the entire picture. That video, the body-worn camera video, did not get released until August 15th, more than a week after that home surveillance video was published. Keep in mind, on August 13th, 2 days prior to the body-worn camera video being released, Bailey's family had been calling for an independent investigation. So they had been calling for an independent investigation for quite some time. Fast tracking to September 10th, really this is where we saw the brunt of those protests and outcry from Devon Bailey supporters calling for an independent investigation, calling for indictments, calling for CSPD to holding its officers accountable. On the 10th of September, we had Devon Bailey protesters show up to City Council and speak to those leaders. And then finally, on October 4th, the District Attorney's Office agreed to hand the case over to a grand jury for an indictment decision. Now, keep in mind, grand juries do not decide innocence or guilt. They simply determine, is there enough evidence to charge an officer with a crime? And ultimately, as you heard from District Attorney Dan May, there was not any action that needed to be taken against these 2 officers for opening fire in Bailey's case. Keep in mind, the grand jury weighed very heavily on this decision, and it had been in their hands for more than a month. This decision coming down just after 5 o'clock this evening. We'll have the latest developments coming up later tonight at 5 and 6 o'clock. We will toss it back to Rob and Elizabeth.
Eric, thanks. And I wanted to point out one key point that was made by District Attorney Dan May was this grand jury was impaneled in January. This is not something that just happened after this shooting occurred. The grand jury for this area is impaneled at the first of the year. They are committed to these cases through that calendar year. So keep that in mind, that this wasn't something that was just assembled in reaction to that specific case. They are on standby basically to handle any cases that might go to their jurisdiction.
And they came to a unanimous decision.
Correct.
And of course, Dan May starting that press conference with empathizing with the family who did lose someone and is going through that right now. We're going to have much more coming up. We'll be right back.